Want help to grow your business? Download BRiN, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit BRiN.ai or search the App Store today.
Hello and welcome to the Young Entrepreneur Show. I'm Yvette Adams. Today we're talking to another exceptional young business person, this time from my home country, New Zealand. So Johny O'Donnell is going to tell us all about running a business from a remote location, but he's had a pretty incredible business journey apart from just doing a business in a remote location. So welcome, Johny.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Even a last-minute flight change, and we got to have you on the show, so very happy about that. So, Johny, you started your entrepreneurial journey very young. You actually dropped out of school.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
Well, I guess my entrepreneurial journey can be traced right back to selling lemonade on the main street, like probably many kids as
Classic lemonade stand,
Grew up on the beach in a great place called Motueka and set up a lemonade stand there, which was a whole lot of fun, and then had my first kind of experience there where that didn't work out when it rolled around to winter, and so I diversified into pine cones.
Okay, very good.
So some good lessons in there.
Yeah.
But fast forwarding a wee bit, when I was in high school, the education system I really struggled with. So not through lack of academic ability or thirst for learning and growth, but really just that education system, the rigid of the system didn't really suit me. And so when I was 16, I left school with the blessing of senior management and my teachers.
Can we just stop there? How did you get the blessing, and like what led up to that? What were you doing that made you go, I'll be fine if I just leave school now?
Yeah, well, I think the main catalyst for me was that I'd been involved in a lot of voluntary and community work, which was a really rich learning experience. And I guess what I found is that I was going into these new environments and learning how to run organisations, how I was learning a lot about leadership and speaking and budgeting and all these kind of things, and then going back into the school environment just feeling like I wasn't getting the same level of learning. I wasn't progressing.
Back to algebra and calculus.
Right. And I felt like a lot of the content was irrelevant. A lot of my time in school was wasted, and I had a real thirst for learning. And leaving school was the best thing I ever did. It was a really scary experience. It wasn't something I took lightly. It was something that I consulted a lot of people about first and got their backing because that was really important to me. But I still remember the kind of pinnacle moment when I walked out of the school gates, and I thought to myself,
you've really done it now.
Responsibility. Well, that's right. And my learning is now my responsibility. In school, you're told what to learn, how to learn. You rely entirely on your teacher's guidance around what you'll learn. And so there's a comfort in that, in the sense that you expect from the school system that by the time you finish, you'll be prepared for the workforce, you'll be prepared for the career of your dreams. And when I left school, the only thing that changed wasn't how much I was learning or how fast I was progressing. It was just that learning was now my responsibility. I had to be self-driven and self-motivated, because if I didn't teach myself things, if I didn't put myself in environments where I could learn lots, then I won't learn.
So where did you go and learn, or what did you do
well,
next?
I tapped into this glorious thing called the internet,
okay.
Which was super useful. But what I learned the most from is just practical applications. I was involved in a whole lot of community projects at the time. I started my own not-for-profit organisation called Students Against Violence Everywhere, and we were a youth-led, youth-run organisation.
Did that come out of having a bad event? Or?
Yeah, it came out of actually just my environment in school. So I was part of the whānau class at school, and what I witnessed there was a lot of my friends and peers having trouble with family violence at home, and from a personal perspective, I just found it really hard to understand how I could support and help them. And so I set out on a journey, a really simple question of what should someone in this situation where you're aware of something going on, what should you do? And so I got in touch with local agencies, and from there it kind of snowballed to realising I wasn't the only one with this question, and that these agencies, there was a gap between young people not having this information and not feeling empowered to support their peers, and also these organisations not feeling like they can get through
to
and reach young people. So I saw this gap, and that was probably my first experience of what I would describe as like bridging the generational divide, which has been a huge part of my work, no matter what vehicle I'm using, if you like.
Okay, so you got involved in that, built some skills, leadership skills and everything. Did you go and get a job at some point to get some income coming in?
Yeah. I guess that was one of the quick, harsh lessons of leaving school, is that there's this thing called money, and you have to earn it, and you have to, it's not the most important thing, but it's right up there with breathing.
Yep.
And so, I was still living in Motueka at that stage, and what I'd worked out through the campaigns where were running the not-for-profits I was involved in is that by mistake I was involved in sales and marketing, but we were just applying it to community campaigns. And so I went and moved to Wellington, the coolest little capital in the world. And
My hometown, love Wellington, the
Yeah.
big smoke for all those small towns in New Zealand.
Exactly, it was the big smoke to me then, absolutely. And so I moved to Wellington when I was 17. And I went to Wellington and got a sales and marketing job for an online marketing company, the longest standing online marketing company in New Zealand, actually.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So when we say long-standing, how long had they been in the game?
They've been operating for about 15, 20 years, which is a really long time for an internet company. So
Yeah.
they were the original domain registrar in New Zealand. So we had a portfolio of thousands of small New Zealand businesses, small to medium New Zealand businesses, and we were working with them on their online presence, which was a really rich experience.
Can I even ask there, because I had a really similar journey. I left school, I didn't go to university, and
Right.
I'm really lucky someone took a chance on me and
Yeah.
hired me.
Yeah.
Did you feel like they took a chance on you and that you were lucky to get the job? Or how
Totally.
did, what would you say to young people that want to get that first break for their first job?
Totally. I mean, I was really lucky to get, that I was going up to Wellington. It was I had no qualifications. I dropped out of school. I backed myself. I was confident, but I didn't have the necessary experience and qualifications to get into the jobs that I wanted to. So I was really lucky that someone took a chance on me. And I remember sitting in the interview and them saying, your age, you're obviously very young, but we won't hold that against you. And I remember saying to them, no, please do hold it against me. Like, it's super relevant. I've just left school. I'm 17. I'm coming into work in an environment where people have been working for you for 10, 15 years. Like, please hold my age against me by all means, but also don't ignore my strengths and the positives that I can bring and the strengths that'll create from my age and having a fresh perspective as well.
So what was the role you got hired for? Was it senior or was it, junior?
No, it wasn't senior, but I progressed pretty quickly in that company because the company was going through a lot of change at the time. So we were brought on as part of like a wave of new young people into the business, basically. So the business had obviously been around for a while. They were operating in a rapidly changing environment in a really dynamic industry, as you know. And they basically employed a number of under 30s to reinvigorate and revitalise the organisation. So I was a part of that wave, so it was a really fortunate opportunity. That's what the company was looking to do anyway.
Okay.
But that taught me a lot as well.
So I know you're into intergenerational differences and things, and if they are hiring this big wave of young people en masse, what did that do to the organisation?
Yeah, it was really interesting because you can understand the logic behind what they were doing. I mean, you were talking about technology, you were talking about how marketing has changed, and naturally they thought the best ambassadors for that were young people from Generation Y. And of course there's a lot of truth in that. But the organisation to that point involved a lot of baby boomers who were long-serving staff members actually, and they held a huge amount of institutional knowledge. They knew the clients intimately, they knew the systems, they knew
the industry,
the pitfalls, they knew the industry. They'd seen that change, they'd witnessed that change, and I guess while the recruiting of young people into the organisation was a positive thing, at the same time they also got rid of what they call a lot of dead wood, which is a term that I feel super uncomfortable even talking about, right? And
it's pretty callous.
It's really callous, yeah. And that was the strategy, and to be completely honest, as the young people going into that organisation, we were super confident and arrogant, if you like, and we thought the world revolved around us, and we quickly realised when we spent a bit of time learning off the people who had been there that there was a huge amount of value in that institutional knowledge and that wisdom, and that the best environment there was when we could work together and collaborate. And you remember I'd come from a background there where we'd run a youth-led organisation, so I'd kind of become really interested in the idea of youth leadership and youth voice, and there's still a lot of value in that, but I guess what I realised there is it doesn't necessarily work in isolation. Young people are a part of the community, not a
It can't be a
separate
token
part.
effort to just get people in and that'll change all your business problems,
No,
will
I
it?
don't know why we've become obsessed with it has to be one way or another. I think environments where young people thrive the most is where we're working across generations, where there's something to learn and something to give as well. I'm really passionate about the concept of reverse mentoring. We've all got strengths to bring to the table, and they're best applied and most effective in organisations when we work together.
And what about even the environment there? Because they did some things to kind of make young people feel welcome and like it was their place, right?
Yeah, and I wonder how many workplaces have experienced this. basically when they left us to our own devices in the sense that they moved on a lot of staff and taken a new wave of young people in, they then went, well, we've got to change our culture. We've got to adapt to young people, and their strategy for doing that was, I think they brought an Xbox, introduced a ping pong table, and increased our beer allowance on a Friday night, which was kind of like you say, these token efforts.
To continue enjoying this presentation, download BRiN, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit BRiN.ai or search the App Store today.